Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Kiana and I do a lot of sewing and fashion videos, and today I have a tutorial for this basic cami slip dress. And of course I have a pattern available for this dress, so that is going to be the first link down below. If you want to see how I created the pattern, prototyped the dress, and the entire process, I do have a bunch of YouTube shorts up right now, so I will link that playlist down below as well. And as you know, I love to reward my subscribers who have their notification bells turned on. So if you want 30% off this pattern, you can use the code CAMIDRESS until tomorrow at midnight Eastern time. So this is a beginner level pattern, very easy. It comes in 3 different lengths: mini length, maxi length, and a crop top length. The little bows and lace that you see on these 2 dresses are completely optional. Here's the dress in plain black, no bows, no lace, just plain. You can do it like this, but I really like what the lace adds, so I'm gonna show you how to do it. You can find all the supplies and materials needed to create this dress in that first link down below as well. And as always, I'll have all the equipment I use in the listing description of this video. And make sure you stay to the end of the video if you want to see a little bonus way to alter this pattern. So without further ado, let's just get into the tutorial. And actually, sorry, one more thing. If you are a beginner or don't really know how to work with knits, I really recommend you watch this video that I put out on how to sew knits. I go through a bunch of stitches you can use if you don't have a serger, a bunch of stitches I like to use, and their applications. So yeah, I'm going to link that video down below and on the top of the screen, and you can skip to about 1 minute and 45 seconds in. Highly recommend. So first off, we're gonna print out our pattern at 100% scale, making sure to use the file that corresponds with our paper size. So if we're using A4 size paper, the A4 size file. If we're using 8.5 by 11 letter size paper, the letter size file. You're gonna line up your pieces of paper edge to edge without trimming the paper down or overlapping the paper. Line it up by those lettered and numbered diamonds and then tape it together. Then you're gonna choose your size based off the instruction pamphlet size chart. Make sure you refer to the size chart and that you don't just guess on your size. Once you choose your size, you're gonna cut on the corresponding line. And don't forget to refer to your instruction pamphlet throughout this project. Make sure you're paying attention to everything when cutting, so directions, grain lines, and notches. And then we can start sewing. So we're gonna grab the front of the dress and the back of the dress and place it right sides together. Pay attention to those notches at the waistline so you can make sure everything's lining up, and then go ahead and serge those side seams, or sew with a stretch stitch. And of course, don't forget to press each seam. Now for the front and back binding, we're gonna take that over to our iron, fold them in half, wrong sides together, and press. Now bring those binding pieces back to your dress, and you're gonna notice that they're actually about an inch and a half shorter than the neckline. So for the front binding, we're gonna place it right sides together with the front neckline and kind of stretch it so that we can pin it in place. Then bring it over to your serger and sew. And you'll notice you're gonna have to slightly stretch it while sewing so that it can fit. And then of course, you're gonna repeat the same thing for the back binding and back neckline. Now for the straps, we are basically going to be creating our own bias tape. So take your strap, fold the 2 outer edges to the center and give it a good press, and then fold it in half and give it one more good press. Essentially, we're just folding that piece of fabric into quarters. Now for each strap on one of the ends, open up that bias tape and fold the end in 1/2 inch and give it a press. Now refold your bias tape, give it a press, and you are ready to now attach it to the dress. So place your bias tape to the dress right sides together, and you're going to line up the edge of that folded piece of the bias tape to the side seam of the dress. You're gonna have that bias tape completely open, and you're gonna pin it along that first little indent. So basically about 1/2 inch away from the arm's eye edge. Wrap that strap all the way around the dress, making sure not to twist it, and overlap the bias tape 1/2 inch with the beginning of the other edge of the bias tape. Now I'm going to sew along that first little indent, again about 1/2 inch away from the edge, to attach the strap to the arm's eye of the dress. And I'm gonna use a lightning zigzag stitch when I'm sewing this. And here's what it should look like now when you flip it back out. See how clean that little side seam looks? I'm going to trim down that seam allowance just ever so slightly, only at the layers where it was sewn. This is optional, but if your fabric is kind of bulky and it's hard to fold that bias tape together again, you might want to trim it just a bit. Now to make things easier on ourselves, before we fold the bias tape back together again, I'm just gonna top stitch the edge of the seam closed. That way it doesn't move around while I'm trying to sew it. Now fold the bias tape back together again, and I'm just going to top stitch around the entirety of the bias tape using a zigzag stitch. This will secure the bias tape to the arm's eye while simultaneously closing that strap. Now this is an optional design detail, so skip it if you want, but I love how the look of elastic lace elevates the design, so I'm going to show you how to apply it. First things first, you need elastic lace. It has to stretch. I prefer elastic lace that's about 1/2 inch wide. That way it's similar measurements to the binding and straps. Cut the elastic to be the same length as the binding and the straps. And then you're going to top stitch it down using a zigzag stitch. And you can just top stitch right through the middle of that elastic. I'm also making the decision to add a little bow to the front, so I'm just going to hand stitch this on. When I'm sewing the bow, I prefer to sew around the knot, so all around the knot. That way it's really secure but not like completely stuck down. Now it's time to hem, so make sure you try on your dress or tank top before you hem. You have 1 inch hem allowance, but if you want to take off more, cut the dress first. So just fold the hem under 1 inch and then use some type of stretch stitch to hem the dress. I'm using a twin needle. And actually for this red dress, I did 5/8 of an inch for hem allowance because I was going to be adding elastic lace right over top of that. Now this pattern does come in tank top length, mini length, and maxi length, but as a little bonus for you guys, my lovely assistant Bella is going to show you how you would do a split color block design, a little pattern hack bonus. Okay, so to do this, we're just going to add seam allowance across all of the center lines. So we're adding 1/2 inch seam allowance at the front and the back center seams for both the front and back bodice. Now for the bindings, that is also going to need some seam allowance on the center seam. So to do that, fold the binding in half, add 1/2 inch seam allowance down the center, and you have a new binding piece for both the right and the left side. Now you can cut out your pattern again. Make sure you're cutting 1/2 of it in black and 1/2 of it in white. And you're going to sew everything along those center lines. So we're going to create a front bodice piece. We're going to create a back bodice piece. We're gonna do the same things with the binding. And now we can go ahead and sew the garment like we learned in the first part of this video. So everything will be sewn the exact same way. Bella did a lovely job with sewing this tank top. And for this hem, you'll notice she used a full 1 inch hem allowance. But yeah, that's how you do a split color block. All right, so that is how you make this cami slip dress. Question of the day, which garment was your favorite and how would you make this dress? Don't forget that that pattern is the first link down below. And if you do want 30% off, you can use the code CAMIDRESS until tomorrow at midnight Eastern time. If you like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up because it's the easiest way to support your favorite creators for free. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is Kiana Bonollo. Make sure you subscribe with those notifications turned on so you don't miss out on discounts in the future. And actually, I'm thinking about doing a series of basic patterns. So if you have any suggestions, leave those down below as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.